before we actually go into the product and see hands-on, let's have a look into the overview of how we author content, particularly structured content inside of Oracle Content Management. So we've seen in the previous module how we ingest and how we create digital assets like images and videos, and how we can ingest them in bulk and add some metadata. Now, in the case of structured content, this is typically a content that is defined inside of an asset type, and that consists of a number of attributes. So obviously, that asset type definition actually drives also the contribution form. And so for every structured content item that we create, there is a auto-generated form that allows you to input data into each of the fields that make up the asset type. Now, there is some level of customization to how these fields look, so you can have them display as a text field or as a text area or as a file select or drop down. So there's a number of capabilities that are offered out of the box. You can also define if fields are single value or multi-value, if they're mandatory or optional. But there is also a second level of customization. For example, you may want to change the behavior of a field. Like, for example, in the case of a field that tracks location, you may want to replace that field with a map that allows you to drop a pin and stores the coordinates behind the scenes. Now, that is done through what we call custom field editors. And it's a capability available in Oracle Content Management to allow you to customize the behavior of fields and potentially provide the same data stored behind the scenes, but a different behavior in the contribution form. Or potentially what you could do is you could override the whole form and provide a customized and optimized experience for the contributor. And what you see in here is, for example, a blogging UI that is optimized as a wizard to allow you to select an audience and then select a topic and then provide you with a rich text editor so you can input some of the text and highlight the keywords and the links that you're actually referencing throughout the text. So there's a very deep degree of customization that you can do inside of the contribution interface. And in this case of the latter, this is done through what we call custom forms. And essentially, they are applied at an asset type level to allow you to override how you contribute that content. So switching over to the product view, let's have a look at the form view. This is the form view for a blog. Typically consists of the fields defined in the asset view. But alternatively, what we could do is we could also add a field around location, for example, and have that show up as a map. So in order to do that, all we need to do is drag and drop a field, call it location, value will be auto-generated, we'll set it as single optional, and then add map editor as the field editor. Now, once we save the asset and go back into the assets panel, what we're now able to do is when we create a blog, we'll automatically get a map as part of the location field added to every blog that we create. So now if we select, we get the coordinates. Alternatively, what we could do is we could replace the overall creation experience by simply switching over to a form editor like this blog form that we've added. Again, once we save and try to create a new blog from the assets panel, we'll instead get a new experience now for creating that blog in the form of a wizard. And we can select the persona, the stage of the journey, the topic we want to add, and also, of course, add, for example, some text in the headline, like, I don't know, just something to share. We can, of course, preview how that will look on social media if we post it, and then review the overall post. Now, as we've seen with digital asset types, the same type of operations apply to structured content. We can assign categories from the categories panel using one of the assigned taxonomies. We can target that specific content to certain channels, and we have all the channels available for this particular repository, and we can select the ones that we want to target to. And of course, we can add additional tags or group that content into collections to facilitate collaboration and sharing of that content. Now, in terms of content collaboration, there's a number of capabilities that we can highlight. For example, conversations and annotations, the ability to preview and collaborate on the content in real time while placing annotations and flagging people to notify on actions to be taken. Or, for example, translations through Oracle Content Management that can be both manual and automated through translation connectors, and they're supported both at asset and sites type through an optimized and configurable UI that allows you to view and preview how the content would look for certain languages, or potentially also multi-step workflows for approval that you can action directly from the Oracle Content Management UI, and also offer you a dedicated task actioning panel and task list panel within that same UI. All of this is underpinned by the core content contribution capabilities and content management capabilities in Oracle Content Management, be it versioning or being provided with an audit trail of what was performed at various steps within the content creation lifecycle, an inventory that tells you, where the content was used and where it's being referenced in what items and what sites, the ability to compare versions side by side and auto tag content using machine learning, or potentially, lock and unlock content so that you can make sure that only you can modify it. Of course, you have the possibility of grouping content into collections to facilitate collaboration and sharing with other teams, as well as preview that content and publishing, which we'll be touching on in the next tutorial in this chapter. Now, back in the OCM UI, content can be collaborated and managed in a number of ways. We have a number of options available in the top toolbar, including managing languages, locking assets, publishing, searching for assets, as well as additional options around categories, collections, workflows, and more. Now, if we want to edit a content item, all we need to do is select that item and open up an edit window, which will display by default the form view. Of course, if this was a content form, it would display that content form. We can additionally open the side panel and check out, the audit trail. We can open up a conversation where we can put annotations on the specific form and specify fields that we want to modify, and of course, flag users. We can check the audit trail to see what actions were performed at every version level. Of course, we can also check out the inventory to see where this particular asset is being used. And of course, we can also use additional options like managing languages and build up additional versions of that language in specific formats. We can add languages directly from here, or you can select content items and preview them directly from this panel. Of course, you can action workflows and check out the properties from here as well. If you open up the preview, you can see that we have the already translated version. Now, on the other hand, if we want to submit this content item through a workflow as well, we can open up this dedicated side panel. We have a listing of workflows available, and we can submit the content in a workflow directly from here. Once the content is submitted, the status changes to in progress, and we get an audit trail again of where the content item is within the workflow, which we can action directly from this panel and provide additional comments from here. Once the content is approved and comments are inputted, the status is then updated. The tracking completed panel lists all the available workflows and the actions performed, as well as the in progress panel showing the completed status.